Right, we can finally talk about the head-to-heads. New Zealand have announced their team. Of course, England announced theirs on Tuesday. Let's touch on England briefly first. Going for a 6-2 split, which I believe is the first time Steve Borthwick has actually done that at test level. The thing that I'm sort of concerned about slightly is if England were to lose a centre early on. Looking at the way that the team is set up, if England were to lose a centre, I suspect someone like Tommy Freeman will have to move into the midfield slot. Marcus Smith will have to go to fullback. George Furbank will go to the wing. And George Ford, of course, will come off the bench and slot into that 10 shirt. By doing so, that is a lot of disruptions if we were to lose a centre. Slady, of course, has only played one game so far, playing for Exeter Chiefs last weekend, getting some minutes under his belt. Will he last the distance? We don't know. That's the one concern I saw after the 6-2 split straight away. The other big news, of course, is Chandler coming himself at 6. Blindside flanker. I believe that had Ollie Chesham not got injured, I think he would have slotted into that role, giving them plenty of line-out option and, of course, the close quarter stuff. But with that, Chandler Cunningham himself gives us a huge amount of ball-carrying opportunities. So against New Zealand, we're going to have to go through the front door a little bit, and he offers something really, really different compared to everyone else. He has a huge ball-carrying capability, and of course, very early in his Test career, but already he's got something about him without doubt. So they're the big takes that I saw within the England squad. Of course, we don't wish to lose a centre, but that was my one concern, as if we do, there's a lot of reshuffling for one slot. Potentially, could you have looked at maybe Elliot Daly on the bench, coming on, keeping Marcus to play the full 80? George Furbank, of course, has played 10 a number of times for both Northampton and England. The beauty of having someone like George Ford come on, of course, is if the game's tight, he knows how to see it out. If the game needs chasing, of course, he can play that well. He's got huge experience that can come on. But that was a bit of a debate there. Now, as we have a glance at the New Zealand team, of course, the main talking point, of course, is Beauden Barrett going to 10. Traditionally, has played there, of course, being World Player of the Year, having been a fly half. Then he's moved to fullback. He started his career, of course, at fullback, scored that unbelievable try coming off the bench in the World Cup final in 2015. Now, he slots in there and Mackenzie drops down to the bench. Now, I look at it two ways. Are New Zealand going to play a certain way? Does it give away a certain tale that Barrett's going to be a bit more controlling, going to Twickenham and doing all those aspects of the game? Or is it the fact that when you look at New Zealand's scoring profile up till Japan and last game of the Rugby Championship, they were struggling back end of the last 20 minutes to score points. Now, when you unleash someone like Damien McKenzie off the bench with 60 minutes up and fatigue in players' legs, this guy can really zip it about and move it. So do I anticipate Barrett moving to fullback, potentially, and Will Jordan going onto the wing back into the game? I do. I think Mackenzie could come on at 10. I think Barrett could then slot himself back into fullback, and Will Jordan, the absolute try-scoring machine, probably slots onto the wing there, and someone like Caleb Clark, big unit, he probably comes off back into the game. So they can reshuffle quite quickly with the huge amount of abundance and talent they have. Whereas England don't necessarily have that luxury with the 6-2 split. Now, Wallace Atiti is back in at 6. I think he's had an amazing rugby championship, someone that's proper burst on the scene. Now, I look at him versus Chandler Cunningham himself, and I can't wait for that battle because they're both abrasive, very, very physical players. So I think there's a proper showdown between those two. Cody Taylor, I think, is regarded probably as one of the best hookers in the world. Him versus, of course, Jamie George, England captain. Those two going against each other will be a great battle. Set piece, dominance, all those bits, the scrum aspects, but Cody Taylor, of course, around the park as well, a real sort of talisman for them. As we look at the back row as well, Ardie Savir, Ben Earl, both sort of similar size in stature, both hugely dynamic in the way that they play. Both kind of talisman figures. I think Ben Earl maybe not quite there yet, but certainly is a key guy for England. Like if you're playing against England, you're doing your homework, you know that Ben Earl gets you going on the front foot and the way that he's dynamic carry. Ardie Savir, of course, has been there for a long time, and we all know what an amazing player he is. So those two going against each other is proper exciting for me to watch. Cortez Retima at 9, him versus Ben Spencer. Again, both, I mean, Spenny's got a lot of experience, you know, having been at Saracens, winning European Cups, Premiership titles, and of course has been really, really key in the way that Bath have now become a very, very powerful force within the Premiership and being captain there. But he's only got 5 caps, all of them off the bench. The first start that he'll get. So essentially he's still young at test level, but has a huge amount of experience, but not loads of experience when it comes to test level. Cortez Retima, very similar. Younger in age, of course, but again, inexperienced at test level. So that showdown should be very, very good. With that showdown between the two nines, one thing I do suspect that Ben Spencer will do, having been very effective at doing it at Bath, is his ability to be around the ruck and actually snipe the other 9. So when Ratima looks to pass and the ball is lifted off the floor, it is then deemed out. And what you can do, you can't play the ball, that's a penalty, potentially a yellow card, but you can play the player's wrist. Ben Spence has done it for Bath a number of times, and he can be very, very effective at doing it. And as you go to pass, he just snags the wrist, ball falls on the floor. So I suspect he'll try and get one of those in maybe early, put him off, certainly at scrum and set piece-wise, really try and get into that gap between 7 and 8 to make it very difficult for Ratima to pass the ball away. Spenny's very, very effective at that. Now the back 3. New Zealand's back 3 genuinely scare me. You look at Caleb Clark, his meters in the Rugby Championship being off the chart. Mark Talea averaging over 7 defenders beaten per game. That is unbelievable. And a lot of times around the close quarters, around the ruck. So don't expect him to be hanging out wide, looking for the ball to come to him. He gets off his wing, he looks for work, especially in the 22. So he'll be popping up around the ruck trying to pick on slow defenders or the bigger tight 5 of England. Now, of course, it's complemented with at fullback Will Jordan. So when you've got someone that scored 35 tries in 37 tests, no wonder Barrett shifted to 10. That is an unbelievable stat. Now, with that sort of electric back 3, England's kicking game becomes even more critical. And this is why Ben Spencer, I think, has been unleashed as well. He's a fantastic kicker, can of course kick off bare feet, but he's amazing at the contestable game. So expect Tommy Freeman, expect Manny Feo-Wabosu to be going up in the air and competing for these balls. At the very least, we want their back 3 catching the ball, man and ball, which means as they catch it, boom, they're hit, collisions made, create a breakdown, create a contest. We do not want to be kicking long to these guys, inviting pressure, inviting these guys to run it back, especially with their running meter stats and the ability to beat defenders like they do. So there it is. There's a quick summary of the 2 teams as they take on each other on Saturday. Satiti versus Candlingham South at 6 is a great battle. Bernal, Ardi Sarvir, of course, the battle of the 9s. And can England stop New Zealand's back 3 from having time and space? Leave a comment below, like and subscribe. What matchups are you looking forward to? I'll be on Monday morning reviewing it with Ant Watson, and we simply cannot wait.